All right, guys. So now we're gonna go ahead and talk about cylinders. Okay, so a cylinder. Here I have a spool of string, right? It's a cylinder. Cylinders, you could think of. I mean, it's literally a cylinder here. A glass, a can. Okay, all of these are examples of cylinders. Okay, actually, let me go get a can really quick because I think that'll do a perfect job there. Alright, so right here, guys, I have a can of tomato sauce. Alright, and again, to differentiate the difference between lateral surface area and total surface area. Lateral surface area only refers to this section. Okay, this section. Total surface area is obviously everything. It's this and this. Your bases. Now, if they say find surface area, I know they're not being too specific, and you might be like, sir, well, when I look at my formula, which by the way, guys, remember to access our formula sheet. You can go to on Teams, go to my class, go to files, and it's going to be right there. Star geometry formula chart. This is where I'm getting the formulas from. This is where you find the formulas for area, for circle area, and right now we're dealing with surface area. Now we're talking about a cylinder, so it's this one right here. Notice how lateral is actually 2 pi RH, and the total is 2 pi RH plus 2 pi R squared. Okay, let me talk about how they get those formulas first. So again, according to our formula sheet, the total surface area can be calculated by doing, and I'm going to give you the raw formula, not this one that's provided here. It's going to be still like our prism, perimeter times height plus 2b. It really doesn't change. Now the reason it's different on your formula sheet is for the following. pH is, again, the lateral area, where P stands for perimeter of the base. On our base is a circle. And I asked you guys a while back, what was another word for perimeter in a circle? And you guys told me that it was circumference, right? So notice how the circumference here is basically your perimeter, and the overall height of the cylinder is here. So this is what's going to give you this lateral surface area. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off this label so you could see what it is. Right. Oh, just use some scissors here. It's not coming off nicely, guys, as I want. Letter opener time. There's glue here, guys. That's why it makes it a little difficult. Alright, so there you go. It came off. So again, the circumference, guys, and the height, that's what represents the lateral area. Notice how that pretty much is a rectangle. Now I cut it off slightly weird, so you might not see the actual rectangle because of the way I cut it. I cut it ugly, but I hope it's enough for you to see that it pretty much is a rectangle. And the other thing I want you to note is that this distance right here, this length, is just the circumference, where the height here is the height of the rectangle. And again, that is why we can say that the surface area of a cylinder, the lateral area, is just my perimeter of the circle, which is 2 pi r, times the height of the prism, I mean in this case the cylinder, plus 2b. But b, remember, b stands for area of the base, and it's a circle, so b is pi r squared. Again, I just really wanted you to know where this formula came from, because in reality you just have to remember that one and just apply it. Okay, this one works for both prisms and cylinders. All right, so now that you know that, we're just going to look at what's given and just work from there. So we're being told that my radius is 4, and we're also being told that the height of the, let me make sure you could see that. Yeah, you could. The height of the cylinder is 10. So cylinders are actually fairly simple to work with. Just for this fact, you only need 2 values, you plug them in, and you're done. All right, so my surface, I'm gonna go ahead and find, the lateral area first, just because the pH, which is the 2 pi r h. So I'm just gonna put here 2 times pi times my radius times my height. So again, 2 times pi. And again, if you don't have pi in your calculator, guys, remember that pi is pretty much 3.14 times 4 times 10. Again, 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 10. You'll get something very close to it. So pH, which is my lateral area, is 251.2. The area of the actual base, the bases together, okay, so the 2b part is equal to this 2 pi r squared. So I'm just going to plug it in. 2 times pi times my radius squared. All you have to watch out on that one is, what if they give you diameter? So just be careful. Make sure you identify your radius correctly. And so the area here, these 2 bases together, when I add them up, I get 100.531. That's what the 2 represents, guys. Please understand that the 2 is there because I have 2 identical bases. All right, pi r squared is the area of one circle. I multiply it by 2 because there's 2 of them. And so again, this is my lateral, and this is just my bases. But when I'm solving for the total surface area, I just add them. And the only reason I did them separate here, guys, is in the event they asked you for lateral, so you guys would know what to do. But that's it, really. Just plug in and you get the total right away. 251.2 plus 100.5. So the total surface area is 351.7. Whereas my lateral area is just 251.2. And I could have done it from the scratch, from the beginning. I could have put everything on my calculator as well, and you would see how I'll basically get that 351. We have this 2 pi times 4 times 10 plus 2 times pi, and then that 4 squared. Just press enter, and we get the same thing. Now I got there at 0.8 because I used pi, and on this one I put the one that had the 3.14, but the answer is very close. All right, and again, literally guys, cylinders, that's all it is. That's how you find the surface area. Now obviously there are going to be times when you're going to have to manipulate your equations. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to go about that. So on this first one right here, I'm telling you that if the surface area of the cylinder is 51.84 and the diameter was 3, you need to find its height. Well, let's go and look at our formula. Again, they are telling us the surface area. So anytime they're telling you the surface area, you're going to automatically think total. So because they gave us the surface area, and I know that the formula for surface area is that pH plus 2b, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the derived formula for cylinders only, is 2 pi RH plus 2 pi R squared. It is known, because they're telling us, that SA is 51.84 and that my diameter is 3. They're both units of inches, so I don't have to worry about converting anything. Now notice how diameter is not used. What's used is radius, so we need to know our radius. Our radius is just half of the diameter, so it's 1.5. And now I'm just going to plug in everything that I know. My surface area is this 51.84. We have this pi. Our radius, we know it's 1.5. Plus 2 pi, and again 1.5 squared. Now I kind of forgot to put the h here, guys, so let me go ahead and put that. H is what we're solving for. My bad. Watch out when you're substituting, make sure you're accounting for everything. A good practice would be, after you plug in the numbers, go back, look at the formula, just to make sure that you don't forget anything. So again, I got my surface area, I got the 2, I got the pi, I got the r, I got the h, the plus, the 2, the pi, and the r squared. Alright, so at this point, it's just, working it out. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just do some algebra. I'm going to go ahead and find out what this part is. And I'm going to go ahead and find out what this part is, just to keep it simple. So 2 pi times 1.5. 2 times pi times 1.5. Alright, so at this point we know that this is still 51.84. 2 pi times 1.5 became 9.4. Times h, right? Cannot forget that there was h there. Let's find out what this other part becomes. 2 times pi times 1.5 squared. So this part became 14. So plus 14.1, and we're just solving for h. I hope that at this point you're like, oh, okay, it's super easy. I could solve it from here. And yes, you can, because all you have to do is just do inverse operations, right? We're going to move the 14 to the other side by subtracting. So 51.84 minus this 9.4, I'm sorry, minus 14.1. So we end up with 37.7. And is 9.4h. Last step is just to divide. So 37.74 divided by 9.4. And so I get that my height is 4.014, so I'm just going to say it's 4. It's about 4. 4 inches, right? All the units were in inches, so expect that to be in inches as well. So again, first thing you do is find out what they gave you, write the formula down. Then, based off whatever they gave you, just write it down and substitute into the formula, making sure you substitute correctly and you don't forget to include everything. Okay, then I would highly recommend just to do it in pieces. What do you get when you multiply the numbers that you know? What do you get when you multiply these parts that you know? And then it's just basic algebra. Okay, that's all it is. I have another problem here, guys, where instead we have to solve for the radius. Let's go ahead and try that one out. So we have here a problem where they're saying if the lateral area of a can. So again, they're telling you that the equation you have to use is that of lateral area. Well, according to our formula sheet, lateral area is 2 times pi times your radius times your height. You don't include the plus 2 pi r squared because they only care about the lateral. Alright, so let's see. They told us that the lateral area was 100, and they also told us that the height was 8. And everything's in centimeters, so I don't have to convert anything. Always check that out. Make sure that they have the same units. In this case, they do. So now we just substitute. So 100 goes in for LA. We have this 2, this pi. I'm looking for my radius, so I don't know it. And my height is h. So I hope you understand why I'm just moving the r to the end. It doesn't matter, everything's getting multiplied here. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just multiply these together and then ultimately divide. You could, if you just follow the algebra, guys, it's literally divide everything by 2 pi 8 and that's your r. But for those of you guys that don't have a calculator that makes it user-friendly to do that, I would recommend to multiply to see what you get. And I think it'll make it a lot friendlier on that end. So 100 is equal to 50 point, I'll go ahead and round up, 0.3 r. And so we divide both sides by this 50.3. So 100 divided by 50.3, which is 1.98. So we can go ahead and approximate that my radius was pretty much 2 centimeters. Okay, and I guess there is one more example, and let's see how we're on time. I don't want to make this too long. 20 minutes already. All right, so we'll stop it there, guys. The other example just talks about if they would have given you surface area instead, but I'll leave that for another problem, another video. Okay, again, this is how you work with cylinders. Just use the formula, guys.